Hey there, so as you can see I've got a little bit of a different setup here. While we're taking these breaks due to COVID, I'm going to be filming at home. Now I'm going to be talking about two of the Canon cameras that's available for the HNCs, which is the 60D and also this fella here, the 80D. These two cameras are extremely similar. The main differences are that the 80D is just slightly superior in just about every way. I'm pretty sure this one here, the 60D, is 18 megapixels. This one's here, was it 21 or 24 megapixels? So it's a little bit better. This also has a touch screen and it's a little bit of a faster computer inside. So I'm going to use the 80D as my demonstration. I'm going to set the 60D aside, but I'll show you the backs of both of them. You'll see that they are almost identical. So let's get into it. Alright, so for this demonstration, I am only going to use the 80D. That is because if you look at the backs of these here, you'll see that they're essentially the same camera. If you look at the top as well, they are essentially the exact same. The only difference is, I would say, apart from buttons, some buttons being in different areas, in the 80D you have this button here, which is a little extra. But we'll get into that in a minute. That button is the exact same as your minus button here, but we'll get into that in a little minute. Alright, so just same as usual, start my way at the lens and I'll work my way up, okay? Your lens, your usual autofocus, manual focus. Take a shot button, not record button. This button here, as we were just talking about, this is the exact same. If you have to press and hold, sorry, I think I said minus earlier, I meant the plus button. If you have to press and hold this plus button here, and if you have to scroll, it adjusts where the camera is going to focus. That is the exact same button, it just adjusts your focus point. And the 80D also has different focus settings. Your scroll, that adjusts your shutter speed. Now this is where things get a little bit different. You get 4 little buttons here, and you've got to remember this is mainly a video camera. It's for recording footage. It can do photography, but it's mostly known to be a recording camera. You'll notice that your ISO and your shoot settings and your white balance isn't here. Usually if you're doing photography you'd want that there for quick and easy access, but instead you've got it up, well, you've got some options up here. So the very first one at the far left, this is your autofocus settings. So if I just turn the camera on real quick, I can actually show you here. So this is your autofocus settings. The next one across is your drive settings. This drive button essentially just means if you're doing single shot, continuous shot, 3 second bursts. For this camera as well, the computer in it, the processor in it is quite quick. So I think you can maybe take about 7 shots a second or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it can take a lot more than your standard beginner Canons, as they can only take 3 shots per second. Next one across is your ISO, and this guy here, this sort of works along with your focus button. These two here sort of change your focus. I'm not going to get into that today, but yeah, these two here adjust your focus settings slightly. This button here is a backlight for up here. It might be hard to see with the LCD, but it's a little backlight if you're filming in the dark. Press it once, turn on, press it again to turn off. Okay? This guy up here, I'm not even going to get into this, as you should already know what this does through your work through NQ, sorry. If you don't watch one of my NQ videos, then you'll know quite quickly what this does. The only thing that I'll mention on this is it's locked in place. You need to press a little button in the centre to make it turn. The other thing to note as well, to select filming, there isn't a little film symbol here. This isn't where you select to go into film anymore. Again, I will always recommend to keep it in manual. I will get into how to use filming in a minute. To start filming, you get this little notch up here. In the centre you've got a little start stop button as well. There's an outer ring, and you'll see here you've got a sort of camera symbol and a film symbol. If you want to do filming, make sure that's down, set to film. You can see as well once you start filming, this automatically shows you what the camera's showing. If you're doing photography work, might automatically, but you can see your settings here. I'll get into how to change this in a minute. This autofocus on button actually focuses the lens for you, so you can half press this or you can press this autofocus on button. As you might be able to see here, if you watch here on the camera, when I press autofocus on, it's going to start to focus, or try to focus. Alright, to show off the next couple of features, I'm going to put the camera back into photography mode as it's just a little bit easier to show off. This button here, you've got a sort of asterisk star symbol here. And this is the same as your alternate function key in the other Canons. So if you use the scroll normally, you'll be able to see it adjusts your shutter speed. Press and hold this asterisk, and it's going to control your f-stop, your aperture. As I said earlier, press and hold this button here, and you see that we get a little bit more options here, but this is essentially just your focus settings. Again, it's the exact same button as this button up here. So this start stop, this button in here is to start recording footage, stop recording footage, stuff like that. Your Q button lets you get into your settings here, and you can actually individually adjust all your settings. Alternatively, the A to D is a touch screen, so you can actually touch these little dials as well. Unfortunately, 6D does not have that feature, but you've always got your little Q button. This button here is your playback. It's going to say no card inserted. So again, usually you've got ISO, your shooting mode, stuff like that here, continuous shoot mode. Again, you can see this isn't the case here. If you want to change your ISO, it's up there, your white balance, you need to go in through here. Notice as well, this has actually got a scroll as well. This is to easily sort through little things in the menu, but also when you're filming or recording, if you don't want to use this toggle switch up here, you can use this for shutter speed, and you can use this little scroll here for your aperture. If you've set up for filming and you don't want to accidentally move this scroll, there's a little lock button down here. You activate that lock button and this won't change. That's just because when you're filming you could accidentally rotate that and change some settings that you didn't want to change. And this is your delete button if you want to delete any images. To change this display, hit this info button. So that's to display the off to save battery. It would all be coming through this view panel. Press it again, you've got some settings information. Once more, you've got a bubble, what do you call it? Spirit level, thank you. I call it a bubble meter anyway. And here you're back to your main settings. There's your menu button where you can get into the menu of the camera and see different things, format your cards, really adjust your settings to your preference. So yeah, on and off switch. I think that'll cover it for this camera. And I hope that it hasn't been too basic for you. Again, if you're ever stumped with your cameras and how to use them, just take some time out, just look at the camera and see what the buttons are telling you. You'll be able to figure it out. So that's going to do it for my demonstration for these cameras. So just remember that the 80D and the 60D are almost identical. It's just that one is slightly superior, but they're both very usable cameras, okay? So just because the 60D might not have the same specs, it is still a more than adequate camera to use. Alright. So I should note as well, there is one other camera that the HNCs can book out that is again almost identical to these two cameras. But I'm going to say that's in another video because this camera is shared between the HNCs and the HNDs, and it's just so I can keep that in a different playlist. So yeah, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the other cameras that you may not be so familiar with because they're not Canons. Alright, we're going to get into some more interesting stuff.